Hey guys, how are we? Welcome. Great to see you all in the chat. Appreciate you giving up your time as always on a Sunday. I hung off because I knew a lot of you guys would be watching the England game earlier on, and good win for England, I suppose, 1-0 in their final warm-up game before the Euros. But look, we're here tonight to talk about the Reds. We're here to talk about the transfer window. We're here to talk about possible incomings, possible outgoings, what our budget might be, and who the players that we're really after are. And I need your help on this, ladies and gentlemen, as much as maybe you need a little bit of my input. So, as always, let's try and get our heads together and come up with a plan, or at least a vision for this transfer window. How are we all? Lovely to see you, and I hope you're enjoying the good weather. It's a bank holiday weekend here in Ireland. I know in the UK you guys had it last year. Sorry, I had a hair on my nose there, which is odd considering I don't know where it came from. But how are we all? Nice to see you in. Right, news about our skipper making himself look like a tool missing the penalty earlier. Well, first of all, mate, you're a fucking idiot. If you think missing a penalty makes somebody look like a tool, then you are the exact type of fan that we don't need, my friend. And don't ever talk about El Capitan in such disrespectful manner again, you absolute plank. Missing a penalty happens to the best of us, mate. And look, Jesus, you're not a Liverpool fan, Mark. I'm sorry, mate, but that's an awful way to talk about your captain of your football club like that. And quite frankly, I couldn't give a shite if he misses 500 penalties for England. Head gone already. A minute into the stream and already the idiots are out under the woodwork. I don't get it. What makes your brain go to that place, fella? Jesus. Anyway, right, how are we? You've got the week off school, Adrian. Nice to see. How are we? Did Rio take your bet? No, not as of yet. Now, look. A lot of people think that I'm arrogant enough to think that Rio knows who I am. I absolutely believe he's got no Scooby-Doo who I am, or 99.9% hasn't seen my opportunity for him to take up on the bet. So look, I'm moaning about it. It is what it is. It was a bit of a chance, opportunistic thing for me, and it didn't pan out, and that's good. That's no problem. Budget thoughts. Right, let's get straight to this. Right, so you've probably seen the budgets. I believe it stems from Mark Ogden of ESPN, and I'm open to be corrected on that, but I believe that was the gentleman that said Liverpool's transfer budget is 50 million quid plus sales. Now, let me ask you good folks one very simple question. I don't know how long each and every one of you have been supporting a football club, but when do you remember a football club briefing a journalist on exactly how much transfer money they have to spend in the window? Because, excuse my ignorance, but that would be the height of stupidity. So I don't know where he pulled this 50 million quid figure out of his arse from, but I'm calling absolute bullshit on it, because nobody I've ever known, journalist or otherwise, has been given an exact amount that a football club have to spend, because quite simply, these things are fluid. Some players may go, some players come in. And I know it was 50 million, he said, plus sales or whatever, but just don't believe it, ladies and gentlemen. And ESPN have been wrong on a few things already in this transfer window, if I'm not mistaken. And look, I've no gripe with ESPN. I've no gripe with this particular journalist, but I also am going to sit here in good conscience and let it be known that these type of idiots are putting these figures out there when it's absolute crap of the highest order. Nobody knows what the club's transfer funds are, because like everything else, it will depend on who's available and who Jurgen Klopp wants and who Jurgen Klopp can get, and yada yada. So many variables that we don't think about, so just don't believe it. Now, I'm not saying we're going to go out and spend 200 million in this window. I haven't got a clue what our transfer plans are, but I certainly know that in the time Jurgen Klopp's been at the club, he's openly said many times that the club don't go into these things with an actual budget in mind. They see what opportunities present themselves, what value presents itself, and if any of the players that are on their preferred list actually become available. That's the common sense approach to it. So anything else is just somebody looking to drive clicks to their website and are lying to you yet again. Hendo got big balls, well done for having a go, said Mark Mighty Red. Look, he hadn't scored for England. Opportunity presented itself in a friendly. Marcus Rashford had just left the pitch a few minutes before. He took and scored the first penalty. And Hendo said, "Do you know what? Give us a shot at this one." Didn't pan out. Who cares? It is what it is. Thoughts on Wijnaldum joining PSG? I don't really have any, to be honest with you. And again, by that I mean it in a completely fair way. Wherever makes Genie happy is all good with me. Genie Wijnaldum served his time at Liverpool, fulfilled his contract, was a huge part of our success. I've got nothing but love for the lad, and if he feels that he can get a better payday and look after the next 2 generations of his family with wages from PSG, have at it. Paris, pretty nice city to go and live in. So yeah, nothing but love for me for Genie and whatever he chooses. Oliver, how are you, sir? I don't know what that is. If it's a burger or if you're calling me fat, I don't know, Oliver. But it's thank you. What else we got? Villa has a budget greater than 50 million. I have a little, and this is just my own thought process on this, but I think Villa are actually being really clever. So what I think is happening with Villa, and again, just my thoughts, I think that they may end up selling Jack Grealish and that they are out there now getting the likes of Wendy sorted out before people know they have them some Jack Grealish money. So that's just my take on it, and it's a very good piece of business, and they look like they've outbid Arsenal for the lad, and fair play to Villa. They're certainly a club that are looking to push and move on up and stay in the Premier League and compete for those European places. But look, we're only concerned about the Reds. So let's have a look at what the possibilities are for us in this window. Yuri Tielemans is a name that's been doing the rounds, and a name that doesn't seem to be going away. But what makes me doubtful about Tielemans is the possible price tag. I'm not talking about the quality of him as a footballer, and I don't know what the situation is with Leicester City with regards to, is he annoyed he didn't get in the Champions League? Does he feel like he wants to put himself on the bigger stage? Does he think he can achieve what he wants to achieve at Leicester? I don't know the answer to any of those questions. But we see that the price tag going around from his fellow countrymen and publications around Europe seems to be around the £55 million, €65 million mark. And I would be very surprised if Liverpool pay that. And the reason I'd be very surprised is we've heard it fed to the media, at least being put out there by a couple of publications, that Liverpool may not actually sign Gini Wijnaldum replacement. And I think that's the key word here, is the replacement. Doesn't mean we won't sign a different type of midfielder, but I think it's been put out there that we won't sign a Gini Wijnaldum replacement. So for me, I wonder, and again, I'm going back to the Bellingham stuff, but I just have a sneaky feeling that could be where we're trying to put our apples in for next summer. And look, I know nobody wants to hear next summer. I don't want to hear next summer. But it looks like, as things stand, United are in pole position for Jadon Sancho. Now, there's no official bid having gone in yet. I've reached out to my Manchester United friends on that one as well. It looks like they're going to want about £82 million for Jadon Sancho, which is down on what they were demanding last summer. And look, we all know that Manchester United had agreed wages and stuff with his representative last year. So I'm guessing as if he may well end up at Manchester United. And I would be absolutely astounded if we're going to go out there and drop that much money on one player. We've got a very good footballer in Canade, and Jace Roberts made a good point on Twitter. He said that, is it just him who appreciates when we go out and get the Diogo Jotas, the Mohamed Salahs, the Sadio Manes, those players that don't cost these God highly amount fees, and God highly amount, that's not even a phrase, ungodly amount I think is what I was trying to say, of fees, but manage to go out there and get quality players for good money. And that's what excites me about the transfer windows. Of course I'd love an Mbappe, who wouldn't? Of course I'd love a Haaland. But if we steep ourselves in reality and look at how we go about our business, unless we're to sell on one of our big players, which it doesn't look like we're going to do, thank God, it looks like we'll have to go back into the market and be more careful in the type of players we have. Now, Rafinha, I don't think we're going to get Rafinha this summer, because I don't think Rafinha's going to want to leave Leeds this summer. At least that's what's been put out there from his camp. And I think he said something similar himself, actually. Is Daka coming to Liverpool? This is one I have to say, and I have to put my hands up. I have not got a clue what the situation is with Patson Daka. And I promise you, like all of you, I'm trying my best to figure it out and find out. And that could be a good thing, but we do know that there is interest from elsewhere. We know West Ham, for example, are very interested in Patson Daka. But will David Moyes still be at West Ham? Will he end up back at Everton, perhaps? I mean, there's a lot of variables going on right now, because some of these clubs don't have managers in place. I mean, Spurs, Conte fell through. And it seems that Conte fell through because he wanted to bring some backroom staff with him, and Daniel Levy didn't want to budget for these backroom staff that Antonio Conte wanted to bring. So that broke down. So I just wonder what's going to happen, because some of these clubs don't have managers, so players don't know who they're coming to play for. Players that might go to Barcelona. I mean, Barca fans are calling Gini out on social media and saying they didn't want them at the club and all this kind of stuff. Fuck off. That's my answer to Barcelona fans. Of course you wanted him, and if you didn't want him, then you are idiots, because Gini Wijnaldum is a quality footballer. Now, I think that the truth here, and bear in mind, I am one of them Barca fans. I am a fan of Barcelona. They're the only other club outside of Liverpool I give a shit about. But I know what Barcelona are like right now financially, and they're up shit creek. They would have loved Gini Wijnaldum, but the fact is, they're trying their best to keep Lionel Messi. They're offering him this 10-year contract that basically means he'll play for 2 years, they'll pay him for 10 years, and they're looking to sign a load of free transfers, and they couldn't give the man what he was worth, and Paris Saint-Germain seen the value there and paid up. And Barca fans are just being a little bit salty about that, but don't be going around disrespecting Gini Wijnaldum saying you didn't want them. I've seen the state of that Barca midfield at times, and fuck me, Gini Wijnaldum would do a grand job in that midfield. It's again, madness. What have we got? Sancho to United almost done. I don't know if it is or not, mate. I mean, you probably have, is a United fan Jonas in the chat saying that? I don't know, mate. I mean, I think he'll probably end up at United, yeah. I'd agree with you on that one, but I don't know if it's nearly done or not, because I don't know if a bid has been accepted yet. Now, I do know Dortmund have set themselves a deadline of when they want these deals to be done for any other players, but you probably know better than me, being a United fan. I haven't got a clue. I'm a Liverpool fan, so I've never been confident that we were really in that Sancho race as much as I would have liked it. We need to sell Keita or Chamberlain. Chamberlain doesn't look like he'll be going anywhere, but there is a little bit of stuff that seems to suggest that maybe Keita is available. Now, my opinion on Keita would be, would I sell him? Yes, actually, I would, if the right offer came in. Because, as supportive as I've been of Naby, I'm sick of going into seasons wondering when our next player is going to break down with an injury, and he got an extended period out from the club to try and address it. Look, it's no player's fault that they get injured. Nobody wants to get injured, but if the right offer came in and it did beef up our funds a little bit, and look, I would imagine we're going to take a bit of a hit on Naby Keita if he was to be sold. I would imagine we'd be probably somewhere between the 30 to 40 million quid price point. Leicester had been linked before. I don't know how serious, if any, interest is coming from Leicester, but it looks like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain certainly won't be going anywhere. And there's a human side to remember here as well. Himself and Perry Edwards are expecting their first child together, so are they really going to want to uproot as well? So you got to keep that in mind when we're talking about these things. The players have a human side to all of this. Oliver, thank you for the diamond super sticker, mate. Marco Grujic, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Porto are trying to free up money to sign Marco Grujic. I think it's Oliveira they're looking to move on to Fiorentina, which would give them the money for what Liverpool are asking, which is in and around the €20 million mark, I think, for Marco Grujic. Or maybe it's £20 million, I could be wrong. It's about 20 million anyway. And Porto want him. He's a good second half of the season there with Porto, and if they move Oliveira on to Fiorentina, it looks like they may have the money to come in and sign Marco Grujic, whom they wanted to take back on a loan, but Liverpool let it be known to any interested parties that Marco Grujic isn't going out on loan again. It'll be a permanent transfer if you want to come and get him. So on that one, keep an eye on what happens with Porto and Oliveira, and if he does move to Fiorentina. Keita and 60 million for Bellingham next year. Look, I don't know, mate, but I am very excited about the prospect of Bellingham next year. I won't lie to you. Would rather Bellingham over Sancho, so FSG get him, otherwise I'll be fuming, said Ginger Ninja. He won't be on anywhere this summer, Jude Bellingham. That much I can absolutely stonewall guarantee you. Dortmund aren't interested in selling him this summer, and rightly so. They're going to lose Sancho. They could lose Haaland. I'm not sure what will happen there. But, he's not available this year. So it will be next year. And let's be quite blunt about this. There shouldn't be any excuses from our end next year. We shouldn't be told that we're still recovering from the pandemic. We shouldn't be told that we have to renew players' contracts, because that should be done this summer. The likes of Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Virgil van Dijk, Fabinho, they should all get new deals this summer. That's most likely what's going to happen. And you can't keep telling us that we've been keeping an eye out for a generational talent should they become available, and every single time one comes available we get told no money. Next summer, if Jude Bellingham is on the market, Liverpool had better be in the fucking market for Jude Bellingham, because Well, look, because he's an absolute baller without, overstepping the mark here. He's a damn fine footballer. Have I been watching the National League playoff? I haven't been watching it, but I kept an eye on the result earlier on, and wasn't there a 3-2 win for whatever the team is, Hartlepool. Didn't Hartlepool United win 3-2 in that playoff? I don't know the guy, Rian. I have to be honest with you, mate. I don't know the gentleman you're speaking of from Salzburg, dude. So, you know me, mate. I won't lie to you. If I don't know, I don't know. As long as we get top four, Craig, or that'll be the excuse. Look, Chris, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but I don't have many fears about us missing out on top four this season. Even with the addition of Canade and maybe one or two more, getting the likes of Hendo back, getting Van Dijk back, getting Joe Gomez back. Thiago started to show that he was really settling in towards the end of the season as well. So I'm not that worried about a top four spot next season. In fact, I think we should be looking to be challenging up the top, but it's certainly setting itself up for a really interesting campaign, isn't it? Because if United get Sancho, maybe add one or two more. Chelsea are going to get a striker. We know that. Manchester City are going to get a striker. So it's going to be competitive. But I get the feeling that those four clubs, Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea, I think that we'll pull away from the chasing pack a little bit in the coming season. I don't think the top four race will come down to be as close as it has been in recent years. And look, I never want to underestimate Leicester in this because their player recruitment has been phenomenal in recent years. And I don't know if you guys seen the picture of Wesley Fofana in the Arsenal shirt, but after hearing the gentleman's explanation, I got a feel for the lad. I really do. I thought it was a lovely post that Wesley Fofana put up explaining that he'd been done dirty by somebody after swapping his shirt after a game of football with a group of people that he thought were his mates he could trust. And he posed for a picture, and then somebody leaked it to social media. So I really did feel for Wesley Fofana and that one, ladies and gents, because he seems like a decent lad. Thoughts on Kevin De Bruyne winning Player of the Season or the PFA Player of the Year? Look, De Bruyne is a mighty fine footballer, and him or Ruben Diaz, I don't really have any argument about it. Fair play to Kevin De Bruyne. Congratulations to him. The transfer window isn't open and we have the Euros next week. We won't do all of our business in the space of a couple of weeks. Relax, people. Steve, there you are, man. I've been looking to keep an eye out for you. I need to mod you, Steve. Sorry, mate. There you go. Apologies. I've been keeping an eye out for you, buddy, and I keep missing you, so there you are. And you're right in what you're saying, Steve. We will always try to get some of our business done before the Euros, mate. As you know, Klopp does like to get them in early, but what I'm most happy about this summer is the fact that our players are going to get a 6-week break. Those who aren't, of course, on international duty in the Euros or the Copa America or the like, although has the Brazilian situation been resolved with the Copa America? I know the Brazilian players had some doubts around that tournament because of it being moved, I think, from Colombia to Argentina and then to Brazil. Am I watching Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather? You know what? I still don't know, is the honest answer. I'm back and forth. I've watched the build up to it. At that price point, at €20, which is what it is in Ireland, you know what? I probably will order it and watch the fight, if I'm being honest with you. If nothing else, just to see the spectacle on a Sunday night. So yeah, I probably will order the fight, if I'm being honest. The Sith Gamer said I would buy Grealish. Do you know what? I have to eat a big dirty slice of humble pie about Jack Grealish, because I remember last year, I think it was, I was more in the James Maddison camp over Jack Grealish, and I have to put my hands up in the air and say I'm a fool, because Jack Grealish is a stunning footballer and very clever about the way he got that penalty today. And that's what I said in our Discord group, joking. Imagine he went to United, they'd end up getting 5 penalties a game. And I meant that in a joking way, of course, because we know they'd get 6. But yeah, look, he really is. Yeah, he's a good footballer. Grealish, he really is. Will Virgil ever be the same? You know, I don't think anybody can give you a definitive answer on that, mate. But if anybody can get back to the level, I'm confident that Big Virgil do it, because he's a naturally athletically built dude. I'm sure, and of course with all professional athletes and with the advances in science and stuff and the way these operations are done, I'm sure that he was sent to the best specialist. I'm sure that he received the best treatment. His rehab seems to be going really well. So, I'm confident we'll see Big Verge back to his Big Vergy best. Would I take Camavinga from Ron? Yes, of course. I think a lot of people, Vincent, would happily have Camavinga. I think he's got a year left on his deal, but from what I've heard, PSG are very interested in Camavinga. But he is a fine young footballer, someone who Didier Deschamps regards very, very highly and thinks has a huge future ahead of him. Carl said, do you think Firmino will stay this season? I do. And I was worried. I was worried about Bobby Firmino for a good part of last season, but much like Thiago Alcantara, I thought we seen the best of Bobby return towards the end of the season. I thought that he looked back to his fresh, brilliant self. Now, he'll always be a bit frustrating with these flicks and some stray passes, but that's always been the case with Bobby. So I would say yes, Carl. I think he will be with us at the start of next season. Could I have a new link? I don't know what you mean, mate. Sorry, Super Pelicans fan. I don't know what you mean by new link. I'm lost on that one. Del Boy said, who will buy Jack Grealish? Well, from the way Roy Keane's been talking and building him up and, being very complimentary of him. And I have a little bone to pick with Mr. Roy Keane as well, by the way, but I'll get to that in a second. He seems to be given off a lot of vibes without having seen it, but he seems to think, I think that Grealish will end up at United at some point. Now, what I do take a little bit of umbrage, is that the right word? With Roy Keane's talking is when he was speaking about Jordan Henderson and being a bit sarcastic and saying he must be very good at cards or a sing-song or something, saying that he wasn't fit and he hasn't kicked the football in 3.5 months. And I don't see the same level of scrutiny being applied to Harry Maguire from Roy Keane, who hasn't played neither of these two friendlies as well and missed the Europa League final and hasn't proven his fitness to Gareth Southgate, whereas Hendo at least got himself 45 minutes today. Now I know that the lengths of injuries are different, but I do think it was just a bit of more unnecessary slagging off of Liverpool from Roy Keane. But then again, he's a former United player, and I wish Jamie Carragher at times would be a bit more Liverpool defensive in some of his stuff, so maybe I'm just being a bit sour on that one. What have we got? Boxing or football? Football's always first, man. Football. But boxing's a very close second. I will say that. Dara said, I hate Jack Grealish, but he's really good. Yeah, look, as an Irish person myself, it's when you see him playing underage levels with Declan Rice and then he goes and plays for England. But look, I'll be bluntly honest about it. I'm probably too good for this Irish squad that we have at the minute, but it would be nice to have had him there. Grealish's quality. I wish Liverpool were in the race, said Ginger Ninja. Yeah, I know, and it is a bit. It's sometimes a bit saddening to know that when you see a price point like that, like an 80 million or 100 million, even how football has moved along and how well we've grown with our market share of Premier League TV money and how well we've grown with our shirt sales and how well we've grown with our partners and our sponsors and stuff, it is a bit downbeat at times that we know that we're never going to be in that market. There's two ways of looking at it. There's the way of it's not the Liverpool way and we don't buy superstars, we make superstars, and we all enjoy that. But, there are some players out there who you just know would have a huge impact. Jamie grew up a blue nose. I'm well aware of that, Del Boy. Yes, I am. And by the way, I think the mural that was unveiled of Jamie Carragher was fantastic. It did touch on his Everton roots. It obviously showed him lifting the Champions League, but I thought the really beautiful touch was the 9 and the 6. You remember the two mascots that went on, one in a Liverpool shirt, one in an Everton shirt with 9 and 6, the two young kids. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's well deserved as well. Ousmane Dembele thoughts. Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest with you, mate, I would take Ousmane Dembele because he's got 1 year left on his Barca deal. Yes, he has had a lot of injury trouble. I'm not naive to that fact. And yes, he has had some reported behavioural issues and difficulty settling. but there is an undoubted player there. And they paid a lot of money for him when the same year that they bought Coutinho as well. I think it was around the €140 million mark. But if anybody was to test Barcelona's resolve around Dembele, this is the summer to do it, I think, because they're scrambling to keep Leo at the club. He says Leo like he knows him, like, how are you, Leo? You know what I mean when I say Leo. Do you think we'll sign Daka, said Dylan? I don't know. I just don't know, mate. The club are playing their cards very, very close to their chest in the transfer market. And the days of, the leaks under Brendan Rodgers and all that, they're gone. And what I've said to you guys before, and I'll reiterate, is look to the European side of any of these transfers, because the English-based journalists, I always say, they never really break the stories, but they give tremendous coverage when the story comes out. So the likes of a James Pearce, Melissa Reddy, or a Paul Joyce, they mightn't be the one that necessarily break the story, but when the story does become public, they'll give the full detail of how it all transpired and stuff, which I always personally appreciate. But we all do want to know what's true and what isn't as well. But it's usually from the European-based journalists that we see the leaks around the transfers. So I'd keep your eye on those type of journalists if you're one that wants the breaking news or the links on transfers. But I certainly wouldn't be getting a lot of my stuff from Twitter. I've said that time and time again. I mean, Fabrizio Romano, yes, of course, he is on Twitter and he is on Instagram and he is a reliable journalist, albeit, sometimes he just piggybacks off other stuff, but he is still probably the gold standard out there. Did you know where there'd be no official winner in the Logan fight? Yeah, there's no judging involved in it, mate. You're right. If there's a knockout, there's a knockout. But it'll be 6 rounds. Is it in 6 rounds? 6 or 8 rounds. I can't remember which one it is. But you're right, there will be no winner declared in it, mate. They are using 10-ounce gloves, though, so there is a chance of a knockout if somebody gets caught on the chin. What talent do you want us to get? Bellingham. I'm saying with you, Ginger Ninja, mate. Absolutely. Unified Gaming, are we going to sign a Genie replacement? I don't think we will this summer. Not a direct replacement. We may sign an attacking midfielder. I'm not ruling that out. Well, look, I'm not here to rule anything out. I'm just a fan like everybody else. But it seems to be no. The answer that we're not going to go out and get a direct Genie replacement. That's what's being put out there. At the minute, the club believe that they have, I think, 7 central midfielders. Now, if the likes of Naby Keita was to move on, I think the situation would be reevaluated, and rightly so. Because we all thought we were stacked in the central back area as well, or centre back area, excuse me. But look what happened. And look, I'm as guilty of that as anybody because, I didn't think we'd get 3 senior centre backs injured for as long as they were. Quinn said Rafinha or Dembele. I would take Rafinha in that scenario, but I don't think... how do you guys feel about the Rafinha stuff? I mean, I feel like sometimes I'm being a bit negative on here, but I always try and be honest. So, from everything I've seen and read, I don't think Rafinha comes to Liverpool this summer. I'd take Rafinha in a heartbeat, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd be all over it if he came. But let me just put it to you guys. Do you think Liverpool will sign Rafinha this summer? I mean, it's one thing me give my opinion, but this is a community channel. I want to know what you guys are thinking. Sorry I'm late, but is it true about our 50 million transfer budget? No, it's not, mate. Now, I don't know what our transfer budget is, but what I'm saying is, when in the history of football have you known a club to come out and tell journalists, particularly an ESPN journalist here, by the way, what their transfer plans are and how much money they have to spend? It would be just absolute stupidity, because anything can happen. Somebody could become available. We may get a chance to sign somebody for the future, like we did with Naby Keita a season in advance. Loads of things can happen, and no club's going to be dumb enough to brief the media about how much the transfer budget is. What have we got? No, said Philip Hunt. No, said Magic Strike. Mbappe, look, hey Tom, mate, you know we'd all love ourselves a little bit of Kylian. Choo choo. But unfortunately, buddy, for me, that train's left the station and I'm in the background waving it off, sadly. So most people seem to be saying no. There was a couple of people that say yes in the chat, but Del Boy said I don't think we'll sign anyone at this rate. Well, mate, we will. Be fair. Like Steve said earlier on in the chat, we're just at the end of the season. A lot of people are having a well-earned holiday right now, and while transfers never sleep, and the club will of course be working on targets, it has been a very hectic, condensed last couple of seasons. So I would say a lot of these players are probably away with their families, those that aren't involved in international competitions, of course, coming up. And I would say we'll definitely get some in, mate. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say we'll spend X amount of money, but I think we'll have a couple more in. What else we got? I would take anybody, said Happy Days. I wouldn't take anybody, but bid would be declined, said Steve Blackburn. How will I say this? I know this sounds kind of back to front, Steve, but usually a bid is the last part of the process, mate. So, firstly, the club will, nobody's listening, are they? Tap up the player. And then if they get positive vibes back from the player or the player's representatives, then, you kind of start feeling out the club, and you get their agent to feel out the club a little bit, and you kind of gauge what type of money they would look at. You're not going to go out there and put a bid in for a player if you know that the club are just going to flat out say no, because you'd look foolish. Usually the bid is the last part of the process, or the beginning of the end of the process, if you get where I'm coming from. Thoughts on Cade Gordon, somebody who I'm really excited to see, Quinch, how he progresses. Obviously a kid that we signed from Derby County, who comes with a really, really high pedigree and very highly thought of. But, as with any youngster breaking through, it's about managing that progression, and Liverpool have a great group of coaches there, but then it's about giving him enough game time to see how he progresses, or when is the right time to potentially send him out on loan. But very happy that we did get him. I mean, he does look like a tremendous talent, as does Musialowski as well. Should we keep Elliott or loan him next season? I believe the plan is to keep him, which, I'm happy about. And if there's one thing that young Harvey doesn't lack, it's confidence. And that's a good thing. I mean that in a positive way. I love Harvey Elliott. I mean, I love the fact that he's a die-hard Red through and through as well. I love the fact that it was a bit of shithousery turning down the opportunity to tour the Santiago Bernabeu because of what Ramos did to Mohamed Salah. I mean, there's so many reasons to like him, apart from the obvious, which is his footballing ability, which is top notch as well. So, I think we'll see Harvey Elliott kept. Now, that leads to the question of, well, if Harvey's kept, do we go out there and sign another wide attacking player, or would that stunt the development of Harvey Elliott? So maybe like Vahusa Mawar or Rodrigo de Paul, who I don't think is good enough, by the way, but somebody in a slightly different vein of attacking quality could come in, or Patson Daka or Daniel Malin or somebody along those lines. I hope that makes sense. Craig, will Sancho go to United? Nothing is certain in football, but if I had 50 quid in my hand and the options right now were put it on him to join Manchester United or put it to not join Manchester United, I'd put it on the join Manchester United. It gives me no joy whatsoever to say that, I promise you, because we'd all have liked Jadon Sancho. Any club would. He's a very fine young footballer with undoubted talent, but we don't seem to be willing to pony up 80 odd million quid to sign him. So I would say most likely, yes, he'll end up at Manchester United, as much as that pains me to say. Now, what I would say is, and I wouldn't go as far as what A. Thomas said there, A. Thomas said that Sancho's overrated. I do think that there is a similar standard of player available for maybe a bit less money, because nothing against Sancho here whatsoever, but we all know that English players you pay a premium for. They're homegrown, and that often comes with a premium. So I would say that we could probably find another very, very, very good player for less money. But, I won't sit here and say Jadon Sancho's not a good footballer, because he clearly is. De Paul is good enough, and Aouar is overrated. Agree to disagree, Nick, on this one, mate. I mean, Rodrigo de Paul is done well at Udinese. I've said to you guys before, he's strongly linked with AC Milan. And one of the reasons, Nick, that I don't think he'll come to Liverpool, apart from my own belief that I'm not sure if he's the right type of player for us, is that he changed agents, and he changed agents to Mina Raiola, if my memory's right. And I'm not saying we'll never do business with a Mina Raiola client, but it's certainly not one for the pro column. It's definitely one more for the con column if you're making a pro and cons list there. And Aouar being overrated, again, I agree to disagree on that one, mate. I don't think he is overrated. I think under Jurgen Klopp's tutelage with Pep Linders and the type of players he'd have around him, I think he wouldn't have to be the go-to man like maybe himself and Memphis Depay felt like they were at times at Lyon. So I think a bit less pressure on the shoulders, a bit more confidence, and I think Houssem Aouar would be a cracking player. And I'm not saying he's coming to us, by the way, but, you know, I do think he's a very fine footballer. Ikone, yeah, I'm a newly converted person over to the Ikone bandwagon. And this is based off very limited viewing, but I have liked what I've seen of Ikone. Obviously, Lille's very talented French under-21 international. I'd take Ikone. At the price point being mentioned, around the 25 million, I'd have him. I definitely would. I mean, it ticks a lot of the boxes for what would make a Liverpool signing. Right age bracket, right price bracket. You know, not the finished article, but could become sensational, or could become a kind of Iñaki Williams type player who everybody always thought was going to go on and do big things, but as of yet hasn't really, you know, reached that full potential. But he's a trickster. He's got tremendous pace, full of confidence, and looks like from the few bits I've seen of him, he's definitely got something about him. Çalhanoğlu, I never believed that link from moment one, mate. Where Juventus seems Çalhanoğlu's most likely destination from what I've read. Again, just from what I've read. He is, of course, a free agent, although there are really no such things as free agents these days in football. As we know, you've got to sign an on-fee, agent fees. Your wages are usually fairly hefty as well. So I think Çalhanoğlu will probably stay in Italy and maybe Juventus from the bits and pieces that I've seen. What else we got? Thoughts on Moutinho from Fluminense? Actually, weirdly enough, I do watch a little bit of Brazilian football. Usually because of betting, to be honest with you. But I can't say I know much about Moutinho, mate. Sorry. I probably just don't have a good enough knowledge of it. Goncalves, look, that's a name, mate, that a lot of people keep mentioning this kid's name to me, and I have seen him play for Sporting Lisbon a little bit, and he does come with a very good reputation, and he has stepped in to fill those shoes left by Bruno Fernandes, and as good as Bruno Fernandes was at Sporting Lisbon, this guy, Goncalves, has helped propel them to win the Portuguese league. Scored goals with both feet, had a fair few assists as well, very highly thought of, has a release clause I think of about 52 million in his contract, and it seems that you'd have to pay the full release clause to get him out of it, but definitely a different type of midfielder to what we have at the club, and looks like a real talent. Again, I love the links, I hope there's something to them. We do have a bit of a relationship with Sporting Lisbon, haven't done a few bits and pieces with them before, but yeah, I mean, it's a good link. Whether it's true or not remains to be seen, but it's the type of link that you look at and you can kind of say, alright, well, that makes some sense. Any news on Bissouma? The news that's been put out there is that we've been priced out of a move for Bissouma, but that's kind of contradictory to maybe we're not in for another Gini Wijnaldum type midfielder. So we know Arsenal are interested in Bissouma, and the price tag seems to be moving every time I read a newspaper article or every time I read a website, or it's gone from 35 million to 40 million to 50 million. And with Arsenal having just been outbid for Buendia, could they afford 50 million? I mean, I don't know. But he's a tidy footballer, but it seems that the journalists are briefing that he's not an active target, but we've kind of heard that before as well. I do like Bissouma though. I think he's a tidy player. Ruben Neves, I think that's an old one, mate. I don't think... No, actually, funnily enough, while I say I think that that's an old one, Ruben Neves is being linked with a move away from Wolves this summer. Obviously, Nuno has left and Wolves are looking to beef up their squad a little bit, and to do that, obviously, they'll have to cash in on some of their players. So Ruben Neves' name had been one of those linked with a potential move away from Wolves, but I don't think he'll be coming to Liverpool. Sorry. Now, there is, again, a good link there. Pep Linders coached him at underage level. I think he worked with him for 6 or 7 years at Sporting Lisbon. Could Goncalves be the next Bruno? It certainly looks like he is. Yes, I mean, it's you never really want to compare players like for like, but he definitely looks like he's filled the Bruno Fernandes void at Sporting Lisbon, and I think he won't be at Sporting Lisbon for too much longer. Is Nat Phillips good enough for Liverpool? People aren't going to like my answer here, but my honest answer is no. Nat Phillips is not good enough for Liverpool. Is he good enough to be a fifth choice centre back? Yes, absolutely. But is he good enough to come in, play a season if the worst was to happen again, and for us to challenge for a Premier League title? I genuinely think no. He's upped his game. He's done a lot of great stuff for us. We have to remember him fondly and thank him for what he's done. Absolutely, I'm not disrespecting Nat Phillips in any way, because he's a kid that looks like he wants to learn. He certainly has improved, but he doesn't have the pace to play a high line like we do. But I hope wherever he goes, he has himself a cracking career, because he seems like a really good lad and he's helped us hugely. And, for that, as a fan, I'll always be hugely grateful to Nat Phillips. Any truth in Elliott to Watford? I don't see why. So I would say no, unless somebody's trying to say Elliott to Watford with Ismaila Sarr coming to us, which again doesn't really make any sense, because even if it's a loan for him to Watford and we sign Sarr, well then you're kind of blocking his pathway back in a year's time. So, unless of course that is we move somebody else on, like a Mane or something in a year's time, I mean. Dave said we need a number 9, a left back and a good number 2 keeper. The goalkeeper situation, spot on, mate. I've no disagreement with you. The fact that the ball is even in Adrian's court on this drives me nuts as a fan. The club want Adrian to stay for another year, and Adrian may want to go back to Spain. And I don't know what the lad does in the dressing room to deserve this year. I really don't, because to me, we should be looking to have a better backup goalkeeper. Caoimhín Kelleher is actually the club's number 2, but he's probably going to go out on loan because he needs experience. Memphis Depay, no, that's not going to happen. Neuhaus, interesting on Neuhaus, Ian. I spoke about him during the week when an article came out to say that Neuhaus was being lined up next year for Bayern Munich, but he himself has come out and said that simply isn't the case, that he sees Borussia Mönchengladbach as home. He's quite happy. Take from that what you will, mate, but the links that I've seen to us and Neuhaus, I haven't seen much recently, but in Germany there's a lot of talk that he'll end up at Bayern Munich at the end of the upcoming season. João Felix, look, we're not going to pay what it would take to get João Felix. I mean, I was surprised how much Atleti paid to get him at the time. Maybe he hasn't blossomed as much as they'd hoped, but they're not going to sell him cheaply, and there's no way that we're going to pay the amount to get João Felix. Tammy Abraham, ask yourself this, Sean, in all honesty, do you think Tammy Abraham is good enough to come in and be our striker? Because my answer would be an almighty no. Is he a Premier League striker? Yes. The likes of an Aston Villa, where he was on loan before. Somebody like that. Maybe even an Everton. Do you know what, actually? He does have an awful bang of Everton off him, doesn't he? With regards to... I could see him at Everton, actually. But no, he's not good enough for Liverpool, mate, in my opinion. Lozano from Napoli. We seem to always be linked with Napoli players, John, don't we? I mean, there was Insigne, there was... Fabian, there was a few other ones, but yeah, we don't. Di Lorenzo is another Jean-Michel Aulas, very difficult to deal with. Hence the reason Koulibaly's been at Napoli for the last God knows how long without being able to get engineer and move away. Daka and Akone, please. Now, Nikhil, that I'd take that right now. You offered me Patson Daka and Akone and Kanade, and maybe one more if we move some fringe players on. I'd take that this window. I have to say I would. It's not the dream transfer window, but I do think it would address what we need addressing. What's everyone's opinion on Nico, by the way? What would you like to see happen with Nico Williams? Because I've seen a bit of a divide in our fan base amongst the opinions on Nico. It seems that he's going to be kept at the club to be Trent's backup, which I personally have no issues with whatsoever. But I have seen some other people say that we need better than Nico Williams. Again, this is a conversation. I'm not saying there's a right and a wrong answer. It's an opinion thing. Zielinski. Are we still talking about Peter Zielinski? No, mate. His time to come to Liverpool has been and gone. Pellegrini was yeah, the Pellegrini thing is interesting because I think his buyout clause is about Pellegrini of Roma. We're talking about here is about 22 million quid. Now, obviously, we know that Jose Mourinho is going to Roma to take over there, but I would put Pellegrini into the category of highly dubious, that link for me. But he does have a relatively low buyout clause of about 21 or 22 million quid. Could Genie talk up LFC to Mbappe? Hopefully, Nick. Hopefully, mate. Agent Genie could be in there doing bits for us. Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, imagine it's a situation where Kylian Mbappe does run down his contract at Paris Saint-Germain. My God, I wouldn't even want to see the wages that he'd be asking for if he was a technical free transfer. Trent backup's not the priority. I would agree with that, my man. Yes, Hakeem, I would agree that you're spot on there. There's been no talk that I've seen of a backup being the priority. I'm purely just asking the question because it's something I've seen fellow fans discussing. Suarez isn't going to come, Steve. He's going to stay at Atleti. He's feeling the love there, which, is really important to a footballer. Did I see his dodgy red? I still haven't seen it, mate. I still didn't see it. I know that it wasn't overturned. It was a really weird situation. So apparently that game that Nico got sent off in, it didn't fall under FIFA's guidelines. It fell under UEFA's guidelines or something, which allowed the Welsh FA to punish him, which means he will miss a game, but it could be down the line and it'll probably be a friendly. I hope I've got that right. But no, I still haven't seen it. I did see that he nearly scored a peach actually right at the end for Wales. Any idea about where Zidane is going? I have a feeling, Jens, that Zidane and Pochettino's futures could be inextricably linked. So if Daniel Levy can pull off getting Mauricio Pochettino back to Spurs, I have a feeling that you may see Zinedine Zidane go in there and perhaps take over Paris Saint-Germain. I've also been told, and this was a good while ago to be honest, before he even took back the Real Madrid job, somebody told me that he was being lined up to take over Qatar for the World Cup. Again, could be absolute nonsense. Thoughts on Harry Wilson? Sell him. I think, he could be a Premier League footballer, but... And look, this another one that divides opinion, particularly even in our own channel. Myself and Steve disagree on this. Steve would like to see him get an opportunity at Liverpool because maybe like Mount, you never know if these guys will sink or swim until they're put in there at the top level. But it seems to be that for whatever reason, Klopp doesn't see it. Doesn't see that in him, whatever that is. And I trust Klopp's judgment, so I would suggest that Wilson will probably move on. And I remember speaking last summer about Ryan Kent and saying that we need to be fair to the players as well. And Ryan Kent just wanted to put down roots and wanted to play football, and you can never knock anybody for that. And I think Wilson will probably be the same. He's probably got a pain in his arse with loan moves and not knowing where he's going to be for the foreseeable. So I'd like to see his future resolved one way or the other this summer. And if that's a sale, then, let the lad go and get on with his career. Zidane to Everton. Oh, imagine. What else is there? Wilson should be given a chance. Well, I guess he's probably been given... Now, I won't say a chance. I mean, that's me stretching it, but Klopp will have certainly looked at him a lot. Will have had him in pre-season. Will have given him some minutes in friendlies. And for whatever reason, doesn't seem to think that he's of the level. But, there's a fair point to be made on both sides of that. Chiesa from Juventus. Didn't he just sign for Juve, by the way? Chiesa. I know. Wasn't he at Fiorentina before that? I don't think he's there too long. But I've not seen any links to Liverpool, mate. And again, I'm not saying... I am saying it's not going to happen. Can Liverpool really afford Bellingham when Dortmund are going to charge at least 90 million plus next season? I mean, I'd love to sit here and say that, yeah, we can absolutely do it, mate. But I fear that it would see us moving on somebody next summer to fund it. So Could we afford him? Potentially, yes, but not in the way that we'd all like to afford them, i.e. just go out and spend the money. But, next summer, and I don't know who the player could be that would be cashed in on, but, if we're not in the conversation for Jude Bellingham next summer, one way or the other, however it's funded, I think we'd have every right as fans to be questioning that decision, because he's the closest thing that I've seen to Gerrard outside of Kevin De Bruyne, and, I'm not calling him another Kevin De Bruyne because the young man's only starting out in his career, but he is the real deal, and doesn't look out of place already at such a tender young age that he's at playing top level football. So I'd like to think we'd be in the conversation for him, and he seems to have a little bit of a soft spot for Liverpool by the looks of it, particularly Steven Gerrard. Just want to say you're amazing. Jesus, mate, thank you. I mean, I'm a little bit taken aback by that, to be honest with you, but thank you. Appreciate it. What have we got? Are we only back in the squad? Gonna be sold, mate. Yeah, he's on the list. Buffon as a second keeper, mate. How do I say this? I love Gianluigi Buffon. I'm a former keeper, and I idolised him growing up. Love the lad. But he's 42 years of age, and his best days are well and truly behind him. So, respectfully, I would say no to Gigi Buffon, but with a lot of respect, because I love the lad. I enjoyed watching him. One of the finest goalkeepers I'll have ever had the chance to witness. Marlon from PSV linked to Liverpool. Yes, Vernon, he has been. And there's something about Marlon that gives me kind of Luis Suarez vibes off him, if you get where I'm coming from. Like, he's a fighter, he's determined. Yes, he knows where the goal is, but he can be a bit unconventional. And, I have a bit of a penchant for that type of player. So, it's always difficult to gauge somebody, isn't it, from the Eredivisie, because while you'll get your Luis Suarez and you'll get your superstars, you'll also get some players that just look good in that league and don't make it. So, often difficult to judge, but Malin certainly doing himself no harm. Dave said, still Buffon over Adrian. Well, yeah, okay, fair enough, Dave. You've got me on that one. But I would imagine that Adrian would be on significantly less wages than Gigi would want. But yeah, Buffon to me right up there in the best three keepers I've seen in my lifetime. Anything else? Donnarumma. I don't know where Donnarumma will go, and that's a really interesting one because his contract's up as well, isn't it, at AC Milan. Now, there are probably people who are more regular viewers of Serie A than me, but am I right to say that he likes to bring his younger brother with him to clubs, or they're both goalkeepers, I think. Are they both still at AC Milan? I can't say I paid that much attention. Dudek all day. Look, Chris, in all honesty, God, I can't believe I'm about to say this about the hero of Istanbul, but Jerzy Dudek wasn't a great keeper, mate. To me, he doesn't hold the candle to Pepe Reina. He'll always be a hero, and I'll never understand how he made that save from, I think it was Shevchenko. The one I'm talking about, where he just got his body in the way somehow. But yeah, he's not he's not in the conversation for me when we're talking about greats. Would I take Ronaldo? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't fancy seeing him stropping with his hands on his hips when a ball doesn't go directly to him, or he misplaces a pass and blames everybody else on the pitch because he is the great Cristiano, and heaven forbid he take any criticism on board. So no, I wouldn't. Who are the best three keepers you've seen? I would say Schmeichel. I would say Gigi Buffon, and I wasn't around for Ray Clements, but from what I've seen, amazing. Oliver Kahn was an amazing goalkeeper as well. So you know what? I'd probably go with those three. No, do you know what? I'm being harsh here, am I? Because no, I'm not allowed to say that. Yeah, no, I'll stick with those three. But Mane cries every game. Yeah, but he doesn't cry because it's everybody else's fault, mate. Again, I can see you're a United fan in there, and of course you're going to stick up for one of your former players who is one of the best players to ever grace a football pitch. No argument. But Cristiano Ronaldo's best days are well and truly behind him, as are the great Lionel Messi. His best days are well and truly behind. Doesn't mean they won't still impact games. Doesn't mean they still can't provide moments of absolute brilliance. But Ronaldo does like a bit of a strop lately. Maybe he's just not happy at Juve. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason. Say you haven't watched them. Who? Watch zero Serie A games. Just tell the truth. Ross, if I've hurt your little butt, mate, by saying that the great Cristiano sulks and puts his hands on his hips, then I do apologise, my dear snowflake, but I absolutely have watched Serie A, mate. I watch at least 20 games of football a week, and I've forgotten more about the fucking game than you will ever know. So, I'm honest, and I always have been, and if you don't like it, Ross, fuck right off, mate, because I couldn't give a shiny shit what some fucking no-mark that I've never met that's butthurt because the great Cristiano was criticised, mate. Grow the fuck up, get a life, fuck off, have a wank, do something productive. Jesus, mate. Ross, cry more, mate. Cry more, Ross. Keep crying. It's okay, buddy. We're here for you. Uncle Craig's got you, buddy. Keep crying. He said something bad about Cristiano. Not allowed to say that bad about Cristiano. Cristiano Ronaldo. Grow up, mate. It's all good. You're allowed to criticise footballers, for fuck's sake. It's all good. Will Man United sign Sancho? I would say so. They're definitely the favourites. What have we got? Messi or Ronaldo? Pele or Maradona? For me, Messi. And for me, Maradona. But I've always said Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, without a doubt, greatest two players of our generation, and I view them both differently. I think that Cristiano Ronaldo has worked harder than anybody else and got every single ounce of athleticism, talent. He's a big game player, and I've got nothing but respect for the lad as a footballer. He is amazing. But I think Lionel Messi just has a God-given talent that Cristiano, not that he doesn't have, because that's wrong, but I just think that it's like Ronnie O'Sullivan to me. You know, there's some people who are just put on this earth to do something, and I get the vibe that Ronaldo's probably one of them lads that could have excelled in a lot of sports because he's a natural athlete. He's got tremendous pace, always kept himself in pristine condition, trained harder than almost anybody I've ever heard of training, and did everything he could to get every ounce out of his career. And he will go down as one of the all-time greats. But he still puts his hands on his hips though, Ross, and cries a little bit, mate. Sorry. I had to do it. I had to. What have we got? Oh, Casillas is another good shout. Neuer's another good shout. I mean, there has been some great keepers, Sean, throughout my lifetime, to be honest with you. So, can I say hi to your mum? She loves me. Well, I am the housewife's favourite, mate. So, I mean, I feel weird saying hello to somebody's mother, mate. I feel like I'm putting you down, but to anyone that watches, hello and thank you. You know, really appreciate it. Am I taking Messi because of Ronaldo's United connections? Oh no, absolutely not. Sincerely, no. I mean, I respect Ronaldo's ability, 100%. I just think, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a sucker for Messi. Maybe I'm a bit of a Messi fanboy deep down. But for me, I've just always edged to the Messi side, and I've always edged to the Maradona side in the Maradona Pele debate as well. Maybe I just like Argentinian number 10s. I don't know. But look, he's class. Ronaldo was, you know, you'd be a gobshite to sit here and say that Cristiano Ronaldo hasn't been one of the greatest players to ever grace a football pitch. That would just be silly. Best centre back of all time, Nat Phillips, obviously. Silly question. I don't know, mate. I haven't got a clue. Paul McGrath. Obviously he's not, but he is though. Ross is punching his wall right now. No, he's not, mate. Don't be silly. Ross wouldn't punch his way out of a paper bag, would you, Ross? Come on, Ross. Tell the truth, mate. Have you shed a little tear, Ross? I mean, you had a pop, mate. Don't make me go get the crown, Ross, because I do have a crown, you know, fella. Look, I'm only joking. Nobody's take anything I say seriously. I'm only a wind-up merchant at times. Right, look, I'm off, ladies and gents. I can't believe that hour's absolutely flown by. Lots of stuff coming up over the next week. We're going to build up to the Euros. I'll be doing all the England games here on Anfield Agenda. I'll be doing all the other big games throughout the Euros as well, starting with the opening game next Friday. What else have we got coming up? The Anfield Agenda podcast will be coming up this week. I'll be doing a brand new news show that I'll be doing once a week throughout the summer, and it's going to be all based around the OneFootball app. So make sure you download the OneFootball app, because they've asked us to do a OneFootball based news show once a week where I'll be picking out articles that I find interesting and talking about them. So keep an eye out for that one as well. Ross, mate, if you're watching, don't take anything I say seriously, fella. It's all a little bit of fun, and I apologise if I did hurt your feelings, which I did. Be honest, mate. I got you good, didn't I, Ross? Go on, Ross, tell the truth. I'll send the loop next time. Only joking, folks. Look, have a good one. Lots of love to you all. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video. Lots of good stuff to come. Have yourselves a cracking Sunday, and let me know if you're going to watch